Before we jump into today's story, I'd love for you to join our little family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our new stories.
I was 25 years old when I met Derek. I was a young, energetic, and vibrant woman with a strong faith in God and a heart full of dreams. In my final year of university, life felt full of possibilities. I believed in love, in its power to build, to heal, to bring two people together in something beautiful. Then Derek came along. He was everything I thought I wanted: tall, dark, handsome, and a successful businessman. Although he wasn't a Christian, I believed deep down that one day he would give his life to Christ. I was certain he was a good person, kind, confident, and sure of himself. Being with him felt exciting, like life was unfolding exactly the way I'd always imagined. At least, that's what I thought in the beginning. In the early days of our relationship, Derek was the perfect gentleman. He was loving, attentive, and always made me feel special. But there was one incident, before we got married, that should have opened my eyes. One afternoon, while I was with Derek, my male cousin called. We chatted briefly, and I told him to call me back later. Derek asked who I was speaking to. When I explained it was my cousin, he didn't believe me. What should have been a simple explanation quickly turned into an ugly argument. Then, out of nowhere, he slapped me hard. The blow left my face bruised. I was shocked. I couldn't believe Derek had hit me. Hurt and furious, I left his house and refused to answer when he kept calling. But he didn't give up. He called constantly and sent endless texts apologizing, begging me to forgive him. He said he had lost control because he loved me. He promised to change. He even brought me expensive gifts to show how sorry he was. And I believed him. I wanted to believe that it was just a one-time mistake. So I forgave him. And I stayed. As time passed, there were more red flags: his short temper, his jealousy, his need to control. But I chose to ignore them. I told myself that things would get better. That love would fix it all. That when we got married, he would change. So I went ahead and married him. After we got married, things only got worse. Derek's insecurity and jealousy grew stronger. What used to be small outbursts became daily arguments. And those arguments turned into shouting matches, with me at the receiving end of his rage. He didn't want me to work. He forced me to quit my job and become a housewife. I had no say in the matter. Slowly, I felt like I was losing control over my own life. Every little mistake I made led to insults and outbursts. He called me stupid, useless, and over time, I started to believe those words. I blamed myself for everything. I tried so hard to please him, but nothing was ever good enough. When I became pregnant, I thought it might change things. That the idea of being a father would bring out a softer, more loving side of him. But I was wrong. In the early days of my pregnancy, I was constantly sick and tired. One day, Derek came home from work and found I hadn't cooked. He became furious. I tried to explain that I wasn't feeling well, but he didn't care. Before I knew it, he struck me across the face and aggressively kicked my stomach. The pain was unbearable. I fell to the floor, crying and gasping for air, terrified not just for myself but for the baby. It was as if my crying only made things worse. He kept kicking me until I started to feel numb. Deep in my heart, I prayed and begged God to save my baby. Derek dragged me by my hair to the bedroom. I felt hot blood flowing down my thighs. When we got there, he threw me roughly onto the bed, and that's when he noticed the blood. His eyes widened in horror, and he suddenly stopped. He began sobbing and apologizing, claiming he didn't know what had come over him. But I knew the truth. This wasn't the first time he had been violent, and it wouldn't be the last. Despite everything, he told me to clean myself up, cover the bruises with makeup, and pull myself together. In pain, I dragged myself to the bathroom and took a bath. He drove me to the hospital, where the doctor confirmed what I feared most: I had lost the baby. I felt numb, like I was watching myself from the outside. I wanted to run. I wanted to escape. But I remembered the threats. Derek had warned me that if I ever tried to leave, he would find me and kill me. He said he would also kill my parents. He often reminded me of our wedding vows: only death can part us. I felt trapped. Like there was no way out. The abuse became a regular part of my life. I was completely isolated. I wasn't allowed to talk to my family or friends. I lived in silence, in fear, and in pain. My home had become a prison, and I had no voice inside it. Even in the darkness, I found myself looking back angry at all the warning signs I had ignored and at how love had clouded my judgment. I questioned everything. One evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner when I got a phone call. One of Derek's company buildings had caught fire, and Derek was badly wounded. When I got to the hospital, they told me he didn't make it. He had been severely burned and lost his life. The news hit me like a wave. I froze, unable to speak, unable to think. Shock. Sadness. Disbelief, and then something else, a quiet, painful sense of relief. I had mixed emotions, and I wasn't sure what that said about me. Tears flowed from my eyes. Although Derek was abusive, death was never something I wished for him. I wished he had done things right. That he had loved me the way he did in the beginning. But wishing wouldn't bring him back. It took time to heal emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. The scars didn't disappear overnight, but with every sunrise, I found pieces of myself again. I reconnected with my family, started therapy, and began rebuilding the dreams I had buried deep inside. I still carry the memory of what I went through, but it no longer controls me. I share my story not for pity but for power to remind. Not just women, but everyone that abuse can happen to anyone, no matter who they are. Love should never hurt. Freedom, no matter how far it seems, is always worth fighting for. Lesson. Samson was blinded by his love for Delilah and ignored the warning signs that she couldn't be trusted. In the end, he lost his strength and was captured by his enemies. In any relationship, whether romantic, family, friendship, or professional, it's important to recognize warning signs early on and not ignore them. Some issues can be worked on, but others are serious enough that we simply cannot stay no matter how much we love someone, respect them, or hope they'll change. Abuse doesn't only come in physical form. It can be emotional, verbal, psychological, financial, or spiritual. And it can happen in any kind of relationship. That's why it's so important to take your time, especially at the beginning. Pay attention to the signs, trust your instincts, and be honest with yourself. This story is just one example of how dangerous it can be to ignore the signs. Marriage, commitment, or loyalty to someone should never come at the cost of your peace, your safety, or your mental well-being. These things matter more than staying in a relationship or environment that's not healthy. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. Take time to truly know someone before making the decision to be in a relationship or agreeing to marry them. And even beyond romantic love, take time to evaluate any relationship that affects your peace. If you find this story meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and comment.